Meghan Markle fed to the wolves, as she claims in the latest trailer of her and Harry's reality TV show? Or did she feed them herself? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we are talking about the latest trailer for the second half of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's reality TV show. The first half has sort of crashed and burned for the couple, with many believing that they don't release any new or interesting information in it. And now we have this second trailer, which seems to offer some more bombshells, while at the same time also highlighting the delusions and the gaslighting that Harry and Meghan operate under to try to manipulate the public to their perspective. And part of the reason why I established this channel is that it's important for people to understand, especially those of you who maybe don't follow the royals very closely, that there are protocols, hierarchies, a lot of things that royals have to do, which does not make them celebrities. I feel like Meghan Markle's fundamental flaw is that she considered herself a celebrity, not a royal. And there is a stark difference between the two. And I followed both celebrities and royals, so I feel like I have a pretty good leg to stand on here when it comes to explaining these differences. But Meghan Markle and Prince Harry hope you don't know or understand that. And so this reality TV show, in part, is a way to manipulate the lay members of the public who don't understand the broader going-ons behind the scenes, who don't really understand the United Kingdom, Great Britain, the press, all these sorts of things, because Meghan Markle and Prince Harry want you to believe that they are the victims of a set of circumstances perpetuated by the palace, when in fact, really in reality, they are instigators of much of their own bad press. And I'm going to give you several examples of what they did that really highlighted and started this generation of negative press that has just never ever stop. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary on the latest news and perhaps sometimes a little bit of gossip too. I also will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit of history as well. And if you love royal fashion, I have a fashion channel, and I'm planning to get TR Tuesday done tomorrow, guys. I'm getting back on my schedule, getting on TR Tuesdays. I'm back at home. I was traveling for a week and a half. I was in Boston with Catherine and William, and then I was with family. And so I have a lot of things I still need to do because editing takes a while, and I didn't want to really take away time from my family, necessarily a ton to do the channel. So I still have some things to catch up over there on Royal Fashion News. In addition, I have a trip planned to the UK. So if you want to go over to the Tower of London with me and see the crown jewels of the United Kingdom, including the largest diamond in the entire world, feel free to check out the link down below for the trip details. I would love to have you join me. And just for a bit of fun, because for some reason I kept trying to tweet this and it didn't come up. It would disappear, and I don't know why. But it is snowing in the UK today. And I am super duper hopeful, or at least yesterday, and it's still hanging around today, that perhaps Catherine and William will bless us with a Christmas picture of their children playing in the snow at Windsor. I'm super excited about this. I tried to keep tweeting it, but for somehow the Royal Collections Trust, I think, either kept deleting it or hiding it or something, and I don't know why. It was just a nice banal. I'm so excited for them to maybe have a snow picture in Windsor. I think that would be absolutely fabulous. They're living near Windsor Castle now in Adelaide Cottage. So it would just be lovely to see them do something a bit more festive, because oftentimes it feels like they're either shooting these in the fall or the summer. And so I would just love to see them have a great winter shot for their Christmas picture. Although I could imagine it also being something from perhaps the Jubilee or something like that. Although I feel like that's been so long ago. I would just love to have a great winter picture within the snow. I think that would be absolutely fabulous. But getting back to Harry and Meghan, obviously I saw the trailer drop this morning and I was like, oh gosh, here we go again. And obviously Harry and Meghan need to promote round 2 of their reality TV show, because round 1 didn't do so well. And it has made people like Harry and Meghan less and less. So it is already still number 2, as far as I'm aware, on Netflix. And so it's the number 2 television show. And since it released last week, that's kind of bad because it's being beaten by Wednesday, which came out, I think, November 18th or 19th. So Wednesday has been out for quite a while. And Harry and Meghan beat it just one day and then is back down. And obviously I did a short video as well explaining that while Harry and Meghan, their first episode in the UK got 2.4 million viewers. The second episode, it was 1.5 million, and then it was 800,000 for the final third episode. And so I feel like people are tuning in for the curiosity factor, but they're not staying. And that's bad for Harry and Meghan, and that's bad for Netflix, because people's perception, I feel like, is broadly negative after watching these. They come out off as whiny, complaining, so many different things. And what I find most irritating about all these trailers and everything is that, especially when they're talking about people gaslighting the public against them, that the British media is against them, the palace, the institutional palace was trying to turn the public against them, and then Meghan comes out and says, I wasn't thrown to the wolves, I was fed to them. And I do like somebody on Twitter goes, well, that's actually the same thing. But what's really, I think, critical here is that Meghan was not fed to the wolves. She made herself a target. She made herself a target through specific decisions that were going to be received badly by the public, that made her seem like she was spending a ton of money when she didn't have to. And it made her seem just arrogant, self-entitled, narcissistic in this new role that she had achieved. And it started rather early. And I feel like the first bit of negative press that Meghan really got was surrounding her engagement dress, this Ralph and Russo dress, which cost $75,000. 75 grand for that dress. Catherine wore a Reese dress, which I think cost around £400 to her engagement shoot. And then we also know that she wore a white button-up t-shirt, and we don't know exactly how much that was. That could have been quite cheap as well. Catherine is very good, I feel like, at mixing high street brands and designer brands. And so Catherine has done a very good job, I think, of trying not to seem too ostentatious, because royals, again, they're not celebrities. They have to walk a very, very fine line. You need to be regal. So you need to dress up and look expensive, yet not spend a ton of money. So when it comes to clothes, royals had to buy everything. They're not supposed to borrow clothes because they're not supposed to be giving favoritism to a specific designer in terms of getting freebies. They're not supposed to get freebies. And we've been told Meghan hated the fact she couldn't get freebies. So she's not supposed to get freebies. Catherine doesn't receive them, and Meghan was not supposed to either, although I'm sure that's changed quite a bit. So when it comes to dresses, when she had that on and the price tag came out, and not to mention the fact it was also partially sheer, and so everybody's like, she's wearing a sheer dress on the top? Really? Really? And then you're wondering, is like, well, did she add an extra layer so it's not as sheer? Is it actually sheer? People were wondering that, and that's what you don't want. You don't want people questioning your undergarments generally as a royal. Now, Catherine has had some fly-up incidents. Totally shouldn't have happened, but they did. And I feel like Catherine has pretty much negated this now. It does not happen anymore. But in the first couple of years of her marriage, she had several, and you could see quite a lot. And I'm sure there were a couple of pictures that were actually kindly hidden from public view by the photographers because they were deemed probably too vulgar. And I feel like that was good of them to do. But Meghan, again, you don't want people questioning this. And this was not a dress that flew up. She bought a dress that was sheer. So that was problem number one. Problem number two, obviously, was the price. The price was a huge red flag because, again, Catherine got a relatively high street brand dress to wear for her engagement photo shoot. It made her seem approachable. She rewore it later. We've never seen Meghan rewear this dress. And it became so bad, and people were wondering, how on earth did she afford this? Did she buy it? Was she gifted it? Did she borrow it? Did Harry buy it for her? Did Charles buy it for her? Who bought this dress? That Kensington Palace finally had to say the dress was purchased privately. That's all they could say about that, which I think goes to show that Meghan for sure did not buy that dress. That either Charles's money or Harry bought that dress for her because she wanted it. And it's a bad look because it just was too grand, and it was a sign of things to come in so many ways. It was just a gigantic misstep first off the bat, because what you don't want is a bunch of people speculating on how much your dress cost. And it was front page news. So the palace didn't have to generate those headlines. People naturally look for what royal women wear. There's a Instagram page called Royal Fashion Police. And although mine's small, and so they obviously have over, I think, 100,000 now followers on Instagram. So they've done quite well for themselves. But there are tons of websites generated and directed towards finding the things women wear, royal women wear. So you really think that nobody would have figured out that was a Ralph and Russo dress costing 75 grand? Yeah, I think that would have been figured out pretty quickly. And so it was just off the bat immediately set a bad tone for her because, again, it became front page news. And those are headlines that the palace didn't have to brief anyone to make those headlines happen. They didn't have to, do the subterfuge thing and let people know that this was going on. No. They wrote themselves. The new Duchess with her $75,000 dress, the headlines were immediate. And the second thing, and this is both, I think, something that goes for Meghan and against Meghan, is the lack of family at her wedding. This was the other thing where people stopped and scratched their heads and go, really? Is her mother her only family member? We know she has a dad. We know she has a sister. We know she has a brother. And granted, her siblings are half siblings, but we know she has like a niece, and she probably has uncles and aunts and all these family members. Why is only her mother at her wedding? And you had the whole breakdown with Thomas. And I will say the Thomas thing is complicated because A, he should not have been paying the paparazzi to take his picture. But B, Harry and Meghan should have figured out how to protect him better. I think it was also a misstep for Harry not to meet his future father-in-law. Why didn't you meet him earlier than this? Why were you going to meet him right before the wedding? That's just, again, it was something that I feel like put a bad taste in people's mouths going, well, how did you not meet your future father-in-law? I mean, I know he lives in Mexico, but I think it's important that you meet because the family members you meet inform you about the person you're marrying. He only ever met Doria. And I know some people absolutely love Doria and they think she's very, regal and she's maintained her silence and everything. But I've always been in the opinion of most of Meghan's relationships are transactional. And Doria was apparently not around much while her daughter was growing up. It was mostly her father. So I feel like Doria saw dollar signs or something, and that's why she was able to play the game with Meghan because that's something she wanted to play and she saw the benefit in it for her. Because otherwise, would Doria ever have gotten an invitation to Oprah Winfrey's house a couple weeks before the wedding? No, of course not. So it immediately was bad in that way. And then you have all the celebrities at Meghan's wedding. Did you know she knew George Clooney? Nobody else did. And everybody was like, Meghan was C-list. How in the world would she have met George Clooney or Amal Clooney? Turns out they really hadn't met before, but apparently they shared the same hairstylist or hair salon or something, and that's how they got connected. And then you have Oprah Winfrey, and obviously there was a big connection there. I was like, oh, Oprah Winfrey, she does all the interviews. She's always wanted to interview a royal. Most of them won't give her the time of day, and it just was like, I see why Meghan would want to invite her. So I feel like those were the two big ones that we were all scratching our heads going, I doubt those people had ever spent much time with Meghan at all, and yet they got a front row seat to her wedding. His friends were in the back, and these celebrities were in the front, and it's like, why? Why? And again, these questions didn't have to come up except Meghan put them there. The public questioned because they saw it. We're not idiots. And so we all saw this and we were all questioning, going, why did she do this? Who are these people? Why are they doing this? We even have heard that Reese Witherspoon received an invitation, and to her credit, if this is true, said, I don't know her. Why would I go to her wedding? And I wish Amal and George Clooney had done the same thing. But there was a very clear effort to make celebrity connections at this wedding. And so Meghan invited a lot of celebrities, big names, people she wanted to network with because this was a networking event. It wasn't really a wedding. And so after that point, Harry and Meghan's press was pretty positive. Obviously, we already had 3 negative stories come out about her. And again, these are not stories necessarily that the press dug for. Now, granted, the Thomas Markle thing I feel like is a bit different. But when it comes to Doria only being at her wedding, the celebrities, and the engagement dress, those were all Meghan's decisions. We've been told in the latest episode of the reality TV show, the last one, the third one, that Meghan was told by the palace not to invite Ashley. But that doesn't wash because apparently all the palace officials, like, we were dying for her to invite somebody else to her wedding so she did not look weird. And again, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't entirely believe Meghan's narrative about that. I bet you Ashley believes it. But I don't think that's what actually happened because, again, all the palace is doing is trying to make you look good. They want you to invite your family. Why do you think Catherine's drug-dealing uncle went to her wedding? Because they focused on family and they wanted him there, and he had been lending them his yacht and stuff. So they decided to go ahead and invite him despite some of the negative things that were about him. But that Meghan decided not to invite her niece just because she was related to Samantha Markle, who apparently she hasn't spent any time with, really. On the off chance, the only reason I could think of is that they were thinking she would try to sneak Samantha in or try to help Samantha gate crash, but like, that wouldn't happen. So the reasoning doesn't even make any sense based on what Harry and Meghan have said. And guys, this is just between the engagement and the wedding. There's more that comes out afterwards. And then just days after her wedding, so her and Harry went to the Buckingham Palace garden party for Charles, who was celebrating his 70th birthday. Meghan and Harry were chatting with Camilla and Charles before they went out for the garden party. And Meghan, her first real, I think, true breach of protocol as a royal wife. So this is not just engagement. She's actually now a royal wife. I'm sure she's been breached on protocol. I'm sure she's been breached on Harry has to go out of the door first. This is how it works. He's about to go out of the door, and then she taps him on the arm, and then she saunters in front of him. That's something people who know royals picked up on immediately. She should not be walking in front of him. And I know some people say, well, he's being chivalrous. It's like, no, he's a blood royal. He must go first. Prince Philip walked behind the Queen for over 70 years. Why did he do that? Because it was protocol. She was a blood royal. She was a queen. He was not. He walked behind her. Prince Daniel in Sweden, he walks behind his wife, Crown Princess Victoria. Even though I'm sure he'd love to walk ahead of her and those sorts of things, she greets people before he does. So in the line, in the receiving line, she greets people before he does. And her parents, because her father is king and her mother married the king, so her mother greets people second. And that is how royals work. That's not a British specific thing. That is all things. Now, granted, sometimes when they're coming out of the car, it's easier for Catherine to introduce herself to someone. And sometimes if it's their specific project, the royal who's married in a bit takes charge. We saw this a bit in the Caribbean with Catherine and William's tour. So this does happen where they're not strictly following royal protocol, but it was immediately apparent that Meghan wouldn't. And it started off, Meghan did this for the rest of their marriage, and she continues to do this. She walks blazingly ahead of him and diminishes him basically to an umbrella carrier. He is her accessory. And this is not to say that a man shouldn't hold the umbrella for his wife, that they shouldn't be walking together, or that she can't take charge from time to time. But when it came to royal events, Meghan's inability to let Harry go first could have caused a real diplomatic faux pas when they were in Morocco, because Meghan barreled ahead and greeted the king first before Harry. That's a huge diplomatic incident, really. There's no reason, utterly no reason why Meghan should have been greeting him before Harry. No reason. No reason except for her own ego, that she could not allow her husband to greet somebody ahead of her. She had to go in front of him. And they're in a Muslim country. That's just so wildly inappropriate. And all those negative headlines come about that, and that was Meghan's behavior. You didn't have to look for those things. Any royal observer would have noticed, oh, did you just see what she just did? She walked in front of him. She greeted the king of Morocco before her husband. Again, these headlines generate themselves. Then we have the South Pacific tour in Australia, Fiji, Tonga, Harry and Meghan, and New Zealand. Harry and Meghan went. And on one of the events, so this was an event where Meghan was taking the day off, and she was in a dress that was so completely inappropriate for a royal. Her dress was slit basically up to her butt because it was a sundress. It was spaghetti straps. It was revealing. It was thin. It was so not what a royal is supposed to do. Even if you were at a sunny beach day, not that you can't wear a sunny beach dress, but generally they cover their shoulders. Generally the hemlines usually reach about their knee. And generally the slits aren't up to their butt. But Meghan decided to ignore all this because, again, I feel like in Meghan's mind, she's always right. And so it doesn't matter what the protocol is. She doesn't care. But again, those headlines, you watch that and you go, oh, that's bad. And it was about this time too, where apparently there was a lot of tension and conflict going on behind the scenes, that we found out that Harry and Meghan were rude to staff members, and the first negative stories started to come out about the bridesmaids fitting, tiara gate, all these sorts of things where, I'm sorry, but if you are not nice to people behind the scenes, they have no incentive to protect you. Their incentive to protect you diminishes over time. And so if they want to share that, hey, you're an awful boss, they're going to start to talk. And that's what the royal staff members did. They started to talk, they started to share with the media, and the media at times could see staff members with tears rolling down their face. One of the staff members reported from that whole Fiji incident at the marketplace that she saw a staff member with tears running down her face, and that they had this moment where they connected. And so when a reporter sees your staff member with tears rolling down their face, they're not gaslighting the public by implying and stating that you might be a horrible boss. And that's the reality of it. Harry and Meghan want us to believe their fantasy, want us to believe that they are the perpetual victims, that they've done absolutely nothing wrong. But Meghan has done things wrong since the jump. Those all occurred within the first 6 months of their marriage. In addition, we had that they lied about when their son was born, that they told the press she was in labor after she had given birth. They wouldn't tell us who the godparents are. Even though the public is paying for their children, essentially, we're not allowed to know who their godparents are. Then we also have the $100,000 Dior dress that she also wore in Morocco, which again was hugely expensive. She constantly wore foreign designers instead of British designers or designers from the local community. As a royal, you're supposed to wear a combination generally on tour of designers from your country so you can help increase the economy of your country, in addition to also wearing designers from the country you are visiting. These are generally things most royals do. Meghan didn't do that. She wore Dior a lot. Expensive Dior. That stuff was pricey. She wore Givenchy, which is a French label. She wore Valentino, which is an Italian label. So all this money went to foreign countries rather than being reinvested back in the United Kingdom. She didn't wear a hat with the Queen when she should have. She and Harry constantly held hands. That was another huge thing. The constant PDA. Yes, you are in love and that's fine, but you should not be holding hands constantly while on engagements, because it's just, I think, distances you in a way from the public, because you're so focused on each other that you're not even really interacting with the people that you should, because it's all about how loved up you are. Again, all these things happened, and Harry and Meghan, they did them. They went against protocol. They spent too much money. And guess what? The public called you out on it. And I think the biggest example here, and this is the one I'll end on, is Meghan Markle's baby shower in New York City. That was stupid. That was incredibly stupid of her friends, of herself, for even indulging such an ostentatious display of wealth. Because again, royals are not celebrities. They shouldn't be telling you that they're multimillionaires all the time. They shouldn't be showing you millions and millions of dollars worth of jewelry constantly or something like that, or a parade in very, very expensive designer outfits. That's part of what they do, but they need to mix it with high street brands. They need to wear things that are affordable. At diplomatic events, they may wear tiaras, but they don't wear them every day, or very expensive necklaces every day. But no, Meghan Markle flew to New York City from London, where her friends threw her a very, very splashy baby shower where she did paparazzi walks, she grinned at the camera, and there were moments where there was away suitcases arriving, so it was very clearly a merching opportunity, and they were seen being dragged into the hotel, and there was a side entrance to this hotel. Natalie Portman and her family were very irritated while they were staying at the hotel that there were so many paparazzi there. because Meghan's team had briefed them on what she was doing, where she was going with her friends. So they did strolls, and then we saw all the famous people arrive to her baby showers. There's absolutely no reason why, given Amal Clooney, Gayle King, we had Jessica Mulroney, Serena Williams, very wealthy friends of Meghan Markle's, could not have flown to London and maybe gone to the countryside or maybe even held it in London and pretty much absolute secrecy. But no, what did she do instead? She paraded her wealth. And basically it was assumed that the baby shower cost over $200,000. And in addition to that, my taxpayer funds were used to help augment Meghan Markle's security. So if you were an American citizen, you helped pay for Meghan Markle to have a gigantic baby shower for herself and her really famous rich friends in New York City. Yeah, that's not funny. And the headlines just write themselves. And the palace didn't have to do anything. Catherine and William's teams did not have to do anything. People looked because Meghan was going in their face and saying, look at me, look at me. And they looked at her. But they didn't see the Instagram veneer I think she wants everybody to see. No, they looked beyond that and go, wait, you're arriving on a private jet. You're staying in this suite that costs $10,000 a night or something like that. Who is paying for this? Where's all this security coming from? We see suitcases arriving. Are you making money because you're promoting away suitcases that are arriving into your hotel? That's a huge issue. And again, I come back to the most is that my taxpayer funds were used for Meghan's paparazzi strolls. Because Meghan couldn't do that in London. She knew she couldn't throw something like that in London and get away with it. So she came to New York and everybody saw it. And guess what? They reported on it. The palace did not have to do diddly squat. Catherine and William did not have to do diddly squat. So I'm sorry, Meghan Markle. You were not fed to the wolves. You willingly jumped in and let yourself be devoured. And unfortunately, this is a result. And you refuse to acknowledge any of it. And I have a feeling you won't move past it. And people will continue to dig into what you've said, what you haven't said. And that for you is really, really challenging. But unfortunately, that was your mistake. You should have figured out some other way to do it, because right now they'll continue to dig. People continue to investigate what you say, and they're finding out a lot of it isn't true. And you only have yourself to blame for that. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please subscribe again if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon. Bye.